in the House. So these would be agricultural appropriation people, but the bill's been married together with 2 or 3 other bills. So this is supposed to happen when they come together. But since the House never passed their bill, technically they shouldn't be allowed to put hemp language in at all. But if you know anything about Washington, breaking the rules or making up the rules as we go is what often happens. So even though these people have acknowledged to me they shouldn't do this, that it's against the rules, they're going to do it anyway. So this is what we've been debating over the last few weeks. I've met with Representative Harris, and our staffs have met many times with Senator McConnell. These are the 2 people who are most in favor of banning hemp. They have written language that ultimately says that the ultimate product of whatever is being sold has to be less than 0.2 milligrams of THC, any kind of THC, total THC. They've also changed the definition of the plant to be, instead of 0.3% THC Delta-9, to be 0.3% total. So I think they've messed up even the plant market. I think the plants would probably have to be all rehybridized to meet a new standard. I think most of the hemp that is sold would not meet this standard. But then again, is there going to be money around for people to redo the hemp plants? What's going to need to be done if the hemp products are illegal? So if 98% of the hemp market is either CBD oil or edible products, is there going to be money left if you make all of the products illegal? The one thing I have behind trying to prevent this is that sometimes passing these bills takes a while. So if it's going to take a week and they don't have a week and they're in a hurry, they usually ask for consent. That requires everybody to consent to speed up the time. So a bill might take 7 days, can be condensed into a day or 2 if everyone agrees. And these are big spending bills, so it fits into this whole idea of whether the government should be shut down or not shut down. And I'm amenable to trying to get the bills through to get government back open, but I've also told them, and I think they believe me, that we can do this the easy way or the hard way. The easy way is I give my consent, and the hard way is I don't. And I've told them I'll give my consent, but what we would like is for the bill this year to institute or call for a study of the issue done by the USDA, an 18-month study. We think they should study what's going on in the states, because one of the ridiculous notions of the numbers being put forward is Kentucky state legislature spent the time to look at the issue, passed legislation, and in my understanding is you can buy a hemp drink up to 5 milligrams of THC in Kentucky. Well, when the federal government passes 0.2, what happens? Is the federal government going to likely have supremacy over the state? Probably. And so what they've done is they're just usurping all of these laws passed by states, and it's a terrible idea. But it's hard getting through to people. But I think what I can say to you all is I'm not sure which way it'll go at this point. If they are pressed for time and they want to speed up time, they might give me what I want, which is a report, non-binding, and we discuss the issue over the next several years to find out what's acceptable. If they don't care and they just roll over me, which is a possibility, they're essentially going to ban hemp. They're going to make the numbers, we think, so low that there won't be any hemp products probably left to be sold. And I think, frankly, people probably aren't going to buy things that don't have THC in them because that's why they're buying the product in the first place. So we're at crunch time. What I would say to everybody on the phone call is you need to email your customers, you need to email your workers, and you need to have them on the ag appropriations. And I can tell you the key players in the Senate, even though McConnell's not on our side, he should get thousands of letters letting him know what's going to happen to people in Kentucky. It's going to hurt our hemp farmers, if not put them out of business. But it's also going to get rid of an industry that's already been legalized by the state legislature, because his numbers are much lower than what the state has agreed to. But I think we need letters to Senator McConnell. We need letters and really emails. Letters aren't worth it. It's too late for letters, and nobody reads letters anyway. So it's either email, text messages, or phone calls. And Senator McConnell and Representative Harris are the 2 people that are driving this issue. They are driving the numbers that will eliminate the industry. Most of the other people I talk to will be happy to take the report. Everybody else I've talked to would say, oh, we'll be fine with a study. let's study this and not ruin the whole industry. Some of them are saying they're pro-hemp. They've been pro-hemp, they've been publicly pro-hemp, but they don't know what to do. But the other people that are players in this are obviously John Thune, who's from a farm state, South Dakota, Mike Rounds from a farm state, South Dakota, John Hoven, farm state, North Dakota. They're all big players in this. And I think they're open-minded. I don't think they've made a decision, but they're going to be influenced by McConnell and by long-standing relationships with him if you don't have thousands of people get them to reevaluate this issue. Most of them have said they're open, but the default position is to let McConnell have what he wants to have. So there's a real danger that's what's going to happen here. Other people, Jean Shaheen is the lead Democrat on the Senate Appropriations for Agriculture. My discussions with her have been fine. She said she'd be fine with the report. She doesn't have any built-in animus towards this. Representative Sanford Bishop in the House, I've spoken with him also. He says he's pro-hemp and that he would have, he would prefer a study or a report rather than putting these new numbers in. But I think it is crunch time, and so I'll stop with this, and that is that everybody who can do anything, have your employees talk about, the possibility of losing their job if this goes through. Have people talk about the other people, the ancillary effects of your business through the people you employ buying products. It ripples through the economy wherever your businesses are. Have your farmers write in specifically. If they farm in South Dakota or North Dakota, it'd be nice to have hemp farmers. And really, at this point, a phone call. If you're a farmer in one of those states, you should get on the phone and call one of the names I mentioned. You may or may not get that person, but if you're persistent and polite, you may get to a staff member who you can tell your worries to on this and what will happen. And they need to be told that the numbers of THC that are being listed are so small that in all likelihood there will be no products sold because no one's going to want to buy the products, and that the farmers in all likelihood will go out of business, and that even if they stayed in business, all of the currently grown hemp plants are probably going to be illegal. This is a disaster. All of these, there's been no thought into these numbers other than to kill the industry, and we have to do everything we can to try to delay this so we can have a real thoughtful discussion of this over the next year or so. But there is a danger this goes south. But with that, I'd be happy to, I hate to give you such optimistic presentation, but I want you to know the truth, and I'm happy to take any questions now.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Senator Paul. We have received a number of questions submitted via the Zoom link, and wanted to introduce you to our first question. A very wonderful woman from the great state of Texas. Her name is V. Henderson. V?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Paul, for being here today and taking on this issue. I'm just an old lady who has a problem sleeping. And I had tried everything in the over-the-counter medicines. I did not want to go to prescription drugs, but even some of the over-the-counter medicines I found were not particularly good for my health, and they don't work. So I started with taking like a half a gummy at night, and guess what? It worked. I was relaxed. I was able to fall asleep and get a good night's sleep, and felt fine in the morning, felt refreshed, not hungover. So I feel like that this is kind of a quandary for most of us out there, because and a lot of old people that I know are using this method to sleep and feel like it's much better for us than some of the other alternatives. And just wanted to ask, what can we do? You stated that we should be writing into certain senators and representatives, and we can do that. Is there anything else we can do on a level in our own states to further your?
Well, I would put a short narrative of how it's helped you with your sleep and how you tried other things. And really, this is a right to choose. This is a right to choose your own sort of medical treatment, your own sort of, and even if it's not for medical treatment, your own form of relaxation. This is your personal choice, and you should bill it as such. But the fact that it's helped you, I think your own personal story you can put that in. I would try to get through to somebody. It's hard to get through to people, but I would try calling Washington. If you can't get through, and hopefully the organizers of the call here will put out to everybody email addresses for the senators that they can respond to.
Yes.
But also, I would try a phone call if you can't get through to anybody in Washington. Sometimes you can give a voice message, because most of these people have people that work in your state. So like your two senators will have offices around Texas. And sometimes it's a little easier to call the state office and just say, hey, do you have 2 minutes? I'd like to tell you how this is helping me. Tell them what the issue is, because if we were to have the people not involved in this issue, if I were to ask the other 90 senators about this, most of them will have not heard of this yet. But even if they're not on this committee, it makes a difference, and ultimately they might have the ability to help this situation. But I would go to your senators. You can send these emails. It's easy to send an email, send it to the other senators too, because the number of them makes a difference. So while I might not read every email, we'll count them up. So if I got 200 emails on hemp today, they'll tell me how many of them were for making it illegal and how many of them were for keeping it. So I do get it, and most people keep up with that. So the numbers do make a difference. But I would just say your personal story is a good story. And the more personal the response and the less it looks like a form letter, the better, the more effect it has.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. V. Moving on to our next question. We have a gentleman from Virginia, Jeff Bogard.
Good afternoon, Senator Paul, and thank you for your willingness to listen to the voices across this nation who took a leap of faith investing so much into the hemp industry after Congress approved the 2018 Farm Bill. My name is Jeff Bogard, owner of Canterbury's Hemp Farm and Company, and as a small farmer located less than 50 miles from DC, right here in Northern Virginia, and a 12-year Navy veteran who felt a calling to support those needing access to pharmaceutical alternatives, it compels me to share how nearly impossible it has become to grow and sustain a hemp operation under the current federal and state restrictions. The arbitrary 0.3% THC limit has crippled Virginia's hemp farmers, forced to destroy acres of perfectly healthy plants, not because they were intoxicating, but because nature doesn't always conform to bureaucratic math. In my own case, I've had to destroy over 5 acres of non-compliant hemp, and that decision alone cost my small farming operation more than $50,000 in losses and over $1.2 million in potential retail revenue. Our non-compliant hemp contained 0.48% total THC. Countless farmers and small manufacturers are being squeezed by a system that says yes to cultivation with the 2018 Farm Bill, and then no when plants exceed the threshold, even slightly, even by natural variation. The Virginia Assembly's total THC laws have made it nearly impossible for small growers and manufacturers to survive and forced us to rebuild our entire business models just to stay afloat. Meanwhile, Congress and the FDA have failed to follow through on what was promised: the legalization and support of hemp as a true agricultural commodity. Add to that the FDA's refusal to regulate CBD, coupled with the USDA's unwillingness to support hemp farmers until the FDA acts, has denied us access to hundreds of thousands of dollars in otherwise qualified grant funding. My own operation was grant approved at the state level, only to be turned down by federal agencies claiming CBD remains unregulated. The result is that farmers like me, I'm sorry?
I was just going to say, let me jump in because I have just a limited amount of time.
Sure.
But I think that the points you're making are good ones. I've heard. Whatever your plant is, I can distill the THC and make it to any percentage I wanted to make it. So really the testing should have always been done on what's being eaten or what is the fluid, that's being drunk. So testing the plant, all I would require of hemp farmers is they show me a certificate that you bought from a legitimate hemp seed company that sells seeds that are approximately 0.3. So you're right. If you were going to test the plants, you should test the average of all of them, not test one plant. I mean, the whole thing's insane what they've done with it. I actually have a bill that would raise the limit to 1% to 1 from 0.3 to 1, and would get rid of farm testing and only test for things being eaten or drunk. But right now, unfortunately, we're not talking about getting better like my bill would be. We're talking about sort of an Armageddon for hemp. I mean, they've gotten a hold, and I promise you, I'm not overstating the case. You all need to call. Your two senators from Virginia, I know them. I don't know what their position is on this, but I think you could have some influence, and I would try to call and get a hold of them or someone on their staff on this. And anybody and everybody you can communicate with, if your livelihood is intertwined with this, you got to let them know what it's going to do if they pass. And basically, if they pass the numbers on THC, you don't have to know exactly what they are, but they're small. If those numbers are out there, I think it's 0.2 milligrams they're talking about for final product, not for the plant, but for the product. That's below what almost everything else that's being sold out there. Almost nothing is sold at that level. And they need to know if they pass these numbers, there'll be no more hemp industry. But there's a possibility neither one of your senators are read into this issue at all, and it may happen behind closed doors, and we won't vote on this issue. We're gonna vote on some big, huge bill. They're actually talking about bundling the agricultural appropriation bill with all the other spending bills, maybe when the government reopens. So then they're saying, oh, did you vote to reopen government? And they'll vote to reopen government. They won't know that hidden within, or one paragraph that kills the hemp industry. So anyway, everybody needs to get on the phone, send some emails, and do what you can. I got time for maybe one or two more.
Okay, great. Well, I'm going to turn it over real quick to a gentleman by the name of Lee Vantine Sr. from North Carolina.
He's like calling in from like Aruba.
Hi, thanks, Senator Paul. We appreciate your support for our industry. My name is Lee Vantine. I own a chain of stores called Apotheca Hemp Dispensaries. In 2018, when the Farm Bill was signed, we were at 13 stores. We've since grown to over 60 stores in 4 states: North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee. We now employ over 400 people in those stores and our operation. And I guess the big question is, what can my 400 employees do? A lot of them are on this call. Like, what can they do to help save, their industry? What's the best thing for them to do?
It's phone calls and emails. And the emails are very easy, but they should make it personal. And if I worked for you, I would say, look, I like my job. I'm able to live a reasonable life, and I want to keep my job. And my fear is that this change will end the business, that the numbers they're contemplating on THC levels in hemp are so low as to be either impossible to make or so low that nobody wants to buy the product, and that my job is threatened by this. If it's to your customers and you want to email your customers, all this is up to you. I would connect them with the email, make it easy for them. So if there's 10 people you want to communicate with, you need to get the 10 emails for them, and don't make it where your employees or your customers have to look it up. You got to make it easy for them to know who and how to communicate. And then you could suggest things to them that are the possibilities, what's going on, that I have offered a study by the USDA. So it's one alternative, study by the USDA, and my study directs them to look at what's going on in the states and see how well it's working or not working in the states. And then no mandate, we would just reassess it in 18 months. And the counter proposal is basically one that changes the THC to 0.3 for the plant, but 0.3 total THC, not Delta-9. So it'll be a lower level of THC than is in the current plant, probably. I don't think the current plant will be eligible. But just help make it easy for your employees and for your customers to get in touch with people. And it's got to happen soon. They can't say, oh, I'll send an email next week. This could happen this week, could happen next week, happen next week. Some of it depends on government reopening, but it is upon us, this decision. And but get them to respond, get them to participate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And our next question is a gentleman by the name of Tim Jensen from Texas.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Honorable Mr. Paul, for taking the opportunity with us today. My name is Tim Jensen. I'm the co-owner and president of the Grunstyle Foundation. Through our work, we have understood over the years, focusing on veteran health and mental health and wellness, that inflammation causes pain, pain causes addiction, and addiction causes suicide. In the last 20 years, over 160,000 veterans have taken their lives to suicide. 7 in 10 veterans inside the VHA currently are overprescribed with psychotropics. Veterans are overwhelmingly searching out and gravitating towards hemp-based consumable products to reduce pain, to reduce inflammation, and this is all about to be taken away from them. What does Congress propose as the way forward for these veterans as they are continuing to search out for their own means of mental health and wellness?
I will tell you in general that any elected official you meet up here, if you mention the plight of veterans, post-traumatic stress disorder and suicide, they're all aware of the problem and they'll all tell you they're sympathetic to it. So I think if you lead with that and then say that, look, and I think this is true, I've talked to a lot of the veterans and seen this, they would like other alternatives other than just taking OxyContin. And they're looking for these alternatives. And this is what they aren't quite getting around here. Where, they think somehow this is people going mad on LSD or something, as opposed to people taking something that's mildly relaxing, that's actually probably less harmful to them than a lot of prescription drugs are. And they're also being led by this Gavin Newsom thing, where his 14-year-old went out and bought a lot of stuff that probably shouldn't be told to children, and it was very high THC content. That's what's leading this whole thing. That's what McConnell showed on the floor, was all these packages that look like kids' candy. That's given a bad reputation to everything else, and that's what we're fighting now. And the problem is, instead of just banning the bad stuff or setting some limits that would get rid of the high THC, they're just going to ban everything. And it's all based on this gas station kind of stuff. But I think if you tell the story of veterans, if you have veterans groups that have come out in favor of this, it's important to let your representatives know. I would respond to all the representatives on the committee, but also the state you're from. I would add in your own 2 senators. This is mainly a Senate decided thing right now. And that's where our best chance is in the Senate. But I would correspond with both your senators from Texas. And then I would also send anything you have about veterans and these issues to all the people on the Appropriations Committee. And if the organizers can get that list to everybody, I think that'll be helpful. Thank you. I'm going to have to run now, but I appreciate having me on. I'll keep doing what I can.
Thank you very much, Senator Paul. Appreciate your time, and thank you so much for joining this call. As Senator Paul said, everybody, we have the various things that we need to do, and those things involve taking action. As Senator Paul said, a lot of folks' lives and livelihoods rely on us being able to keep the hemp industry legal and available here in the United States. For the folks whose livelihoods it impacts, he said it best. Those are store owners, those are employees, those are farmers. Everyone's livelihoods will go away if what some of these folks in Congress are planning to do actually passes. And that is why we need to make our voices loud, and we need to make sure our voices are heard. After this call, we will be sending an email out to everyone. In that email, it will include some of the most recent data that we have seen that you all can use and spread and share as you wish. That data is a lot of the polling data, and that's going to be helpful. 72% of the country, and that is a bipartisan number, 72% of the United States supports a safe and regulated hemp industry. That is what the United States citizens all believe and agree with. That is something that I highly encourage everyone to share. The next thing that you will receive in this email is our call to action. As Senator Paul has said, we need to send emails and make it known to members of Congress that this issue matters to every single person here. And the best thing that you can do is, number one, email your senator, email your congressman. And we have a call to action. I dropped it into the group chat. You can click that link, or you can wait for the email that will come immediately after this call is over. And you can email your congressman or email your senators, and make sure that they hear your voice. What Senator Paul said is they tabulate the number of responses that come in throughout the week. And usually the top issues make it into the inbox and gets discussed with staff. And so that is why it is incredibly important for us to send emails to our congressmen and senators so that they know that this issue matters to not only consumers, not only farmers, but to every single person that this industry touches and impacts. The next thing that we're asking everyone to do, in that email, you're going to receive a link, and that link is going to be to volunteer. And that is going to be important because not only do these individuals in Congress and Senate that are planning to vote our industry out of existence is they pay attention to those emails that everyone receives, but they also pay attention to the press. And we need to make sure that we get letters to the editors submitted. And those of you that wish to talk to folks in the press, and tell your story, please click that volunteer link. I dropped it into this chat, but you'll also see an email go out after this call where you can click volunteer. And if you wish to submit a letter, we will reach out to you in the next day. We will work with you to submit a letter to the editor. We will help point you in the right direction. And then most importantly, when the time comes, we also need to make sure that our voices are heard by calling our senators and calling our congressional members' offices. You can call Washington, D.C., or you can call the local office in your state. Those are all things that we highly recommend everyone does. The most important thing we can do as an industry is get united, work together, and most importantly, make our voices be heard. And Senator Paul raised another very important point. And he has been our number one champion, for Republicans in the Senator. He has been standing out there in the breach, fighting for us. And that is something that we as an industry will always remember. But he also said that we need to make sure that we get letters from groups and people submitted in. And so that is something, if you're part of a major group, if you're part of a local chamber of commerce, if you're part of a veterans group, please make sure that those groups are also submitting their letters. If you have questions on how to do that, our team is very happy to help work with you on what that could look like and how you submit that. But our team is going to be made available to anyone that has questions. We want to work with every single person here to ensure that the voice of this industry is heard, and not just heard, but heard loudly, so that they will remember the next time they try to do something like this that takes away our veterans' access, our seniors' access, our consumers' access, tries to ruin the jobs and livelihoods of our farmers, of our minimum wage employees, of our store owners, of people that are just trying to make a difference and make a living in America. A lot of these guys say that a loophole was created. There was not a loophole created. There was a marketplace that was created for entrepreneurs to thrive and succeed here in America. And we need to make sure that that story is told to every single person in Congress and the United States Senate. So that being said, we have a lot of work to do, my friends. I know for a fact that we're going to win this fight. And we're going to win it by uniting, and we're going to win it by making our voices heard. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining this call. I know everyone has a busy day ahead. Let's get it done. Let's get to work, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Brian.
All right. Talk to you later.